Hello everybody, welcome back to Off Meta Musings. I'm your host Itan, and today I'm here for an event recap. We were at Warhammer World playing some narrative play. It was 3 games of Warcry, and the format was pretty interesting, so I thought I'd go over it. Today I've got Charles here with us. Say hello, Charles.
Hi there.
Hello, hello. And yeah, we both went up there, and I think we had a good time. But yeah, let's get into it. So, Hungering Gnarlwood. So they said it was narrative play, but they used the open play missions, and in the mission pack they talked about the open play missions. So that's really what we played. The interesting thing was for the warband selection, you had to pick 1,000 points, but for game 2, they were playing 800-point games. They didn't mention in the pack that you were allowed to effectively take whatever you wanted in your 800-point list as long as your leader was the same. So that's something that kind of caught some people out during the day. As for the games, you can see here there were random pairings on the first game, and it was going to be a 2v2 Coalition of Death team battle. So that was pretty exciting. The second game was Triumph and Treachery. It was 3-player free-for-all, and then the last game is just your standard game of Warcry. Let's get into what we actually played on the day. Game 1. So if you haven't seen the open play missions from the rulebook, there are effectively 2 open play missions for Coalition of Death, and then there are 2 open play missions for the all battles. We played one of each for the first and for the second games. We randomly determined twists for each of our games, which meant that effectively each table was playing a slightly different kind of throughout the entire event, really. In the first game, they were using the larger battlefields special rule, so they doubled up the Warcry boards, so they were twice as big.
Yeah, it was two boards next to each other, giving you a single larger Warcry board.
Yeah, exactly. And the mission that they chose for game 1 was Clash of Might. Clash of Might is actually fairly straightforward. You split the table into quarters, and whoever captures the most table quarters wins the turn, and whoever has won the most turns wins the game overall. And effectively all you need is more enemy fighters than your opponent in each table quarter. One thing that this doesn't mention, which I think we played it differently, right, Charles?
We played it differently in our game to you, but
Yeah, so it doesn't mention that you have to be wholly within your table quarter in order to capture it. So we took it literally in our game. Effectively, you can kind of straddle table quarters, and if you're sitting in the middle of the battlefield, you count as one for each table quarter. But yeah, you guys decided
we played wholly within because we were like, it says quarter, and we were like, wholly within. We were like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly. It does make more sense.
Yeah, and it also means you do have to kind of divide your forces to actually take quarters.
Yeah, you can't just like fight around the lines of the battlefield. I think 2v2 is interesting. I'd never played a 2v2 battle before for Warcry. It makes things a lot more different in terms of how you're going to plan out your turns, how you're going to do your actions, that kind of thing. The pairings were random, so you didn't really know who you were going to get. It's kind of luck of the draw, almost, who you get paired up with and if their warband is going to kind of complement yours. What did you think, Charles, about this one?
Yeah, it was very different. It's a team, so you're like, right, well, we start with our daggers on the board, and then it's, well, where's your shield and your hammer's going to come in?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very much, did you get a complementing warband? Could you use each other effectively? You're not exactly friendly to your teammate, but you're not an enemy either. So anything that affects friendly models only affects yours, and anything that affects enemy only affects the opposing 2 players.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about, oh, I've got this thing that hits everybody within 3 inches, affecting your friendly teammate.
Yeah.
But they don't also share your buffs.
Yes. Yes. I don't know if you found this. I was teamed up with Iron Jaws for the first game. Now I was playing Hunters of Wanchi. We'll see that a bit later. And he really struggled with getting places because we were playing on the larger boards. And Charles, you played your Nurgle, which are movement 3. So I found that I had to do
similar movement issue.
I think movement 3 is kind of fine in current Warcry on the normal board size because you don't have to get that far, really.
It's not an issue on the normal board because you don't really have to cross half the board. Essentially, what my reinforcements mostly did is they denied where the opponent could come on for their reinforcements.
Yeah.
And just kind of held our quarter and the quarter above.
Sure.
But yeah, having only 3-inch movement meant they weren't going very far, and they did kind of have to stay near the center line in case they needed to
To get
like
somewhere.
hop over a quarter.
Yeah, like the majority of my teammates' force kind of came in on our shield, so they're very much at the back. So that pretty much kind of it's sad really. It kind of puts them out of the game because it'll take them 3 turns just to be able to get to the center line if they come at the back at just going move at 6 inches.
But again, this mission is about taking quarters, and them coming on there means you can have like one coming on your quarter just to bolster it, and the others
Yeah.
go into the other quarter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They're not going to reach their opponent for like 2 more turns. They're
Sure.
just there to be numbers.
Sure. I mean, we were kind of joking before the game or before the event, really. That imagine you had 2 Soulblight Gravelord players, each running 15-man warbands.
Yeah, you just be like shake hands and
getting
that.
teamed up. So you got like 30 guys. We're almost playing an Age of Sigmar battle. Versus like 2 Stormcast, which are like 6 guys. So it's like 30 activations versus 12, and that is it's possible. It can come up with the random pairings. So yeah, it really puts you on the back foot because when you're playing with twice as many people, you have all that many more activations. So the activation difference between you and your opponent is kind of amplified in that. So
it isn't, is it? Because it's all players roll off initiative,
yes.
and then it's done as a team. So it's you count number of singles between your
Sure.
team and their team.
Sure.
And then you activate 2 models, they activate 2 models, and vice versa. So having more activations still can help.
Yeah.
But it is one of those ones where it sometimes isn't as big a thing because you can sometimes double team models out of the way.
I guess so.
But yeah, having more models is better.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was interesting. I quite enjoyed it, actually, this one.
I had the Nurgle Rockbringers on. It was against a Nurgle Demons list with Soulblight Gravelords.
Okay.
And they both had...
Yeah, that list isn't small.
They both had 9 models, and we had a 7 and a 10. So we were 2 models down. And at turn 1, I only had 2 on the board. My ally had 3, and they both had 3 each.
Yeah.
So we kind of lost turn 1 just because we only had 5 models.
Yeah. We managed to draw the first 3 turns, and then our opponents managed to get 1 table quarter off us on the last turn. Yeah. I tried as hard as I could to like run skinks all over the place.
It was a good game though, and it was a very different style of play.
Yeah, I mean, we've played ever of Warcry are tournament games, like proper tournament events, right? So playing something like this.
The twist we had was visibility, so you're only visible up to 4 inches away.
Yeah.
Which affected a grand total of 1 model on all 4 teams.
We rolled. It's not called Exploding Wild Dice, but I'm going to call it Exploding Wild Dice. So whenever you want to use one of your wild dice to do anything, you've got to roll a dice, and then a roll a 1, 2, 3, it doesn't work, and a 4, 5, 6, it does. So I effectively had no wild dice during the entire game because I rolled 1s to 3s.
That is pretty bad.
It's like, all right, well, fine. I've got doubles the whole game, not allowed to trip. But yeah, that's why I think they should have really standardized the twist so that everyone was at least playing the same game throughout the event.
Yeah, but again, it is a narrative event, so it's not so serious.
Well, going into game 2, so we played Triumph and Treachery. Triumph and Treachery are the 2 missions that are all the all that supports up to 4 players. Because of the amount of people we had in the event, we ran a 3-player free-for-all. The way they worked it out was that whoever won that priority roll on the first turn chose a color, and effectively you've got 1 color that isn't used in this one. There are 2 Triumph and Treachery battle plans. There's this one. It's effectively last man standing for your leader wins the game. And then there's another one which is like King of the Tower, where by the end of the battle you need to be on the highest point of a tower in the middle of the battlefield. Needless to say, Games Workshop wasn't putting out massive weird rickety towers made of Gnarlwood, so we kind of had to play this one. I really enjoyed this battle plan, and you wouldn't think that I would, considering that my leader is a skink alpha who is probably the squishiest leader alive. But what they try and encourage is that they say, oh yeah, do deals with other people, gang up on people, break alliances, do all this kind of thing. And you got a lot of that, I found, in this game. I don't know if you saw the same thing, Charles. Like, we had...
Oh, I did. My game finished rather quickly. So I was watching yours, and yeah, there was a lot of like well, I'm not going to do that because that would just end the game.
Yeah.
Because again, it was the secondary decider was kill points, and it was
Yes.
the person who did the final blow on the model
Yeah.
got the kill points for the
Yeah.
model.
So it's better to drag out the game to kill more things instead of just going, oh, I kill your guy. Oh, that's it.
And that's the other thing is this mission had no turn limit.
Yeah.
It kept going until there was only one leader remaining.
Yes.
So,
We went to like 7 turns, I think, and still
yeah,
it
I
was a
think your
draw.
game was on like 7 or 8. It was definitely 7 or 8 turns.
Yeah,
your
we
game
had like,
played.
it was an hour and a half, I think, to play this game. We went 7 turns, and the game still ended in a draw because he couldn't kill my leader, and I couldn't kill his in time. But it was super fun. Like, there was it was me and 2 other Chaos Warbands that they were having their own weird death match going on. There was like a gentleman's agreement between them not to kill their sorceress, because the sorceress was the only thing with a ranged attack that could get my alpha, because my alpha was sitting on top of a tree. I had my alpha leap off with a quad, kill a guy, and then climb back up the tree in the same action. It was super fun. I thought it was great. Charles, I
Yeah.
heard that your guy got eaten by a giant or something.
I was with a Gloomspire Gits warband, which basically only had 4 models, which was Loon Boss on Cave Squig, Boggle Eye, a giant, and one other model.
Yeah.
And the other guy was playing Seraphon with a Stormcast wizard guy. So he had a bunch of Saurus with his Saurus Alpha. I got a cheeky quad on the first turn and was like, okay, I can send in the Varangard to maybe assassinate his leader on the first go.
Varangard isn't your leader, right? So it can
no,
die.
He's not my leader. This is what my opponent thought at one point. He was like, oh, I killed the leader. I was like, no, he's not a leader. He's just
a guy.
Which the Varangard failed by 2 damage to kill his Saurus.
And then I guess the Vanguard got jumped.
Oh, he got absolutely murdered by crits. But then my leader, I had the rest of my guys come on and basically try to body block for him. But Giant went, oh, Dragon Maul, and then went flap, and then the cave boss jumped on him as well, and it was like, ugh. The 30 wounds touch 4 disappears very fast.
It does, especially when the Giant is unwounded. It
was turn 3 when I died, and I died like very early, like first couple of activations, turn 3.
Game though, fun game type. Would do again.
Again, if it had been 4 players, again, unfortunately, it's just because the number of players we had that they decided to do them as 3s, which did work out well. But yeah, if it'd been 4 players, it was one of those ones of you've got to just be doubly careful because there is an extra person just to the side of you that could jump you. You could jump them.
But yeah, it was good.
It was very interesting.
Yeah, every now and again, I'm happy to play a 4-player game. And then game 3 was just a normal game of Warcry. So you generated your victory condition, your twist, and your battle plan randomly, as you would normally. This is what I happen to have. So I had the comet. So every turn after the second, the comet comes down and it's an objective marker and you've got to catch it. I had Rising Hatred, so you kill guys. If you kill more guys than your opponent, you get an extra wild dice next turn. And Clash of Blades as my deployment. There's not really much to say about game 3, really. Like I said before, I do think it would have been nice if maybe they randomly generated a victory condition, twist, and deployment for everyone to play.
Yeah, you might have worked better for this game if it had all been like standardized.
Yeah, because you kind of got like 5 tables or 4 tables, however many it was, all playing different games at this point. And we say it's not a tournament, but at the end they have like a final standings, and there are first, second, and third placings. Don't mind random mission generation, that's absolutely fine with me, but I think standardizing that across all the games, I think it would help.
Yeah. The first mission we rolled up was the Curse Relic one.
Okay.
And it was quite literally, we were like, oh.
No one wants to play Curse Relic.
I mean, if I go first, Varangard will just run over, pick it up, and run away.
Yeah.
And you're never going to catch him.
Okay, so that was nice. At least you both recognize that.
Well, we both recognized it's a very polarized mission.
Yes.
So we re-rolled and we got essentially kill points. And it's like, and we were like, well, at least this one's a lot more fairer between us.
Yeah. You actually have to fight to do things. You can't just play the keep away game and win that way.
However much you kill in a turn, whoever kills the most points gets the point, and that's it.
Let's see, kind of placed. I'm saying what placed in a very loose sense here because it's a narrative event, really. I've got some final standings for you a bit later. But first place, we have Gloomspike Gits. These were the Gits that I played against in the first game. Yeah. And you can kind of see why they do pretty well in this pack. Squig Hopper's got a big old boost from the last FAQ, so they're pretty good, and they're also fast, so they can get places in the first game when you need them to really move across that bigger board. A bunch of goblins to capture table quarters and do what they need to do, and a Brugit to do Brugit things with the Squig Hopper boss. So it's fairly standard. But it's I think solid. I think it's really solid.
And it's 9 models, so it's got a decent
Exactly,
coverage.
exactly. Michael's Nurgle Demons, I think this is what you played against in the first round.
Yes. Yeah.
It's using the Plague Bearers really to full effect. We've said this before about Plague Bearers. You can take like 5 of them for 250 points, and then you've got your entire warband to go. But you've got all the numbers you'll ever need kind of sorted right there. I like the inclusion of the Doom Ball. Actually,
Yeah, the Doom Ball was actually pretty good. He's a quite tanky and quite damaging model.
yeah, he's fairly choppy, the old Doom Ball, and I
Yeah.
kind of like that. Like previous incarnations of this list would essentially have like a Chimera, but as a replacement, it kind of fulfills almost the same-ish kind of role. He's not super fast Doom Ball, but it's on a much smaller base, so it's more maneuverable, I think, and it does just as much damage.
He also had a Beast of Nurgle that you've missed. Chaos Spawn
Oh,
and
okay.
Beast of Nurgle.
There we go. So he had a Beast of Nurgle also. This was a list that was given to me because I asked for it, and this was what was given. But if he had a Beast, he had a Beast also.
Yeah, because I played it. He was against me in game 1.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was a Beast of Nurgle as well in the list, which
Sure.
was an interesting case. Again, it's quite tough. It can do a lot of damage if it needs to.
Yes.
But he failed to kill somebody, and he used the ability of it where it basically has to do a move and then do 3 damage to a person that it ends near.
Sure. Nice.
From its slime, and he used that to kill off a guy, and it was like, that's quite clever.
Yeah, cool. And going into third place, we got James here. This is the Gloomspite Gits. He played with me in the first round, and he played against you in the second round.
Yes, yeah.
It's fairly straightforward. The giant was kind of a mistake on his part. He said that he wanted to bring something else but couldn't find it, so we kind of just picked up a giant and it was like, oh, I'm going to run a 5-guy orc list. So, but that's kind of fine. The giant met an ogre in the first game that you played with me, and it kind of just fell over, not really doing anything. So, but against you, it ate your
Dragon Maul. It was the Dragon Maul was the thing. So again, it's like, oh, just fix its range, grab you, move you here.
Yeah.
It didn't do any damage from Dragon Maul, but then it's in melee with the giant.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see it, like I said before, about how movement 3 things really suffer. So apart from his loot boss on Cave Squig and his Gargant, the rest of it is kind of just at the back of the board, not really doing all that much. I think there might have been another Goblin in here also, actually.
Yeah,
so
they just provide support though, and
yeah, they weren't
that's what they're there
really
for.
doing all that much, exactly, yeah. But yeah, it was that's it really. So that's first, second, and third. I played Hunters of Wanchi. This is what I've been working on. You've heard me talk about Hunters 1,000 times now. This is the latest version of it with the Mizzen Master. As of the January FAQ, we have access to Bladeborn again, which is quite nice. So I've been messing around with the Wizard and the Chameleon from the Starblood Stalkers. They seem to be doing pretty good. I think there's more testing to do there. It's not amazingly suited for these missions. The second one, if I knew that I could have taken basically any list and all I needed to do was protect my alpha, I had another Mizzen Master in my case, so I would have probably taken like 2 Mizzen Masters for 500, and the alpha makes it 6, and then like a bunch of claws or something. In the first game, it's about capturing table quarters, but I was countered at every turn because I was playing against the goblins. They had the numbers. So not ideal, this list, but overall, considering that I was going into some missions that the list isn't fantastic in, I think it did all right. But I'm going to keep on testing it. I'm going to keep plugging at it, and we'll see how it goes.
I brought the Blight King list I've been using mostly just because it was the week before, and we were like, oh crap, these missions are completely different to what we're normally playing.
What do we have to hand? Well, Blight Kings.
Well, they should do fine because again, they're relatively tanky. They can take a hit. They can deal out damage.
Yeah.
If
I mean, the second game was just unfortunate that you got eaten by a giant.
The first mission, if I'd known what we were doing and maybe made my dagger have 3 models in, we would have drawn turn 1, maybe drawn turn 2. So it's one of those ones. Not sure what's going to happen. And then the final game, it was again just a Warcry game, and it worked well because the Blight Kings are tough enough not to die.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it's an all-round list, really, so it's designed to be able to play games of Warcry in a reasonable way. This is the final standing. Like I said, we've got Leela with her Gloomspite Gits. She won all 3 of her games, which is pretty nice for her. Michael Apperton, Nurgle Demons. Gloomspite Gits, 3rd place, is the one with the giant. Hunters of Huanchi is me.
Insanely high kill point total as well for the Hunters of Huachi.
Yeah, you know what? When I only need to kill the last guy to do things.
Third highest kill points, and it's the skinks getting those last hits in there.
Those last hits, I know. Well, I mean, the blowpipes on the chameleon skink decided to turn on. So I'm testing a combo at the moment, which is Mizzen Master, Fight for Profit, and all the rest of my stuff. Because Fight for Profit is like the only attack boosting ability in the game that I know of that just works on attacks, not just ranged or melee attacks. So you can use it to buff skink shooting and to buff the wizard shot that's normally pretty bad because it's only got 2 shots, but when it gets 4, it suddenly does things. And yeah, that's really how I did it in this. It was like, oh, well, I don't need to do 20 wounds worth of stuff. I need to do 1 wound. The last wound is what counts.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I got a bunch of points. That was really fun.
But yeah, it was a good event. It was a bit of an odd one because it was on a Wednesday during the day.
Yes.
So numbers were quite low.
Yeah, there was one more player in here. It was like the spare just to fill it out to 12. Yeah. But we've removed him because, I mean, officially he kind of wasn't there.
Yeah, but yeah, it was good event overall.
Mm-hmm.
A different event was the main thing.
Yes, it was a different, and it is nice every now and again, to play something that isn't just, oh, here's a Rumble Pack, go play your games.
Play your hardest, game the system, bring the best.
Be the best like no one ever was. Yeah, it's fun. So every now and again, I would really encourage people to try out the open play missions. If you got a bunch of buddies around and you want to play some Warcry, want to do something a bit different, then go for it. I say. I mean, what do you got to lose? I think as feedback from an event standpoint, I do think standardized twists would be a bonus, so at least everyone's playing the same game. I also think in the last game, they should just roll the mission, roll the twist, and roll the deployment, and give that to everyone. Because otherwise, you've got however many tables, and they're all playing different games, which is kind of a bit weird.
Yeah, again, that would have been maybe better if they'd done the choosing.
Yeah.
But again, it worked for the type of event.
Yes, it did. It did. As a very casual kind of thing, I think it was pretty good. And yeah, that's it really from me. Charles, have you got anything else that you want to add for this about the event, about how it was, that kind of thing?
Not hugely. Just again, it was a narrative event, so we were doing things differently. The big board was very interesting, and knowing if we knew what we knew going into coming out of the event, would have taken different warbands, probably may not have.
No, I think the warband, I would have changed the composition of my warband to have a lot less. Here's how I'm going to play a Rumble Pack tournament, and a lot more. Okay, I need to stuff as much damage into this as possible whilst keeping the numbers up and the speed that way.
The only other thing was if it had been make a 1,000-point warband for a doubles, a £800 warband for a 4-player, and another 1,000-point warband.
Yeah, if they clarified that in the rules pack, I think that would have really helped.
Yeah, if it had been bring 3 lists for these point levels, you must use the same faction. That would have maybe helped because would have maybe tailored things slightly better in some ways. It may have made no difference for some people, but again, other people may have gone, oh well, for this 4-way, I'll put this in, or for the double game, I'll make sure I've got more people.
Yeah, it's just for clarity's sake, really. If that was going to be a thing that was going to happen during the event, then.
But yeah, it was a good fun event.
Yeah, it was very good fun. And that's it from us for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about the event, how it went if you went there, what you think about the narrative and the open play Warcry missions themselves. If you have any cool stories from big old four-man games that you want to share, please go ahead. But with that, it's goodbye from me, goodbye from Charles.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, and I will see you next time.